Episode 6, The Reckoning. Catherine's alarm shattered the silence at 6 a.m. She sat up in the Atlanta hotel room, momentarily disoriented before the weight of the day ahead crashed down on her. 8 hours until the board meeting. 8 hours to prepare for the most important presentation of her career. She showered quickly, watching Karen Miller disappear down the drain with the brown hair dye. The woman who emerged, natural hair styled in its usual professional cut, makeup applied with practiced precision, was CEO Katherine Morrison again. But she wasn't the same person who'd walked into David Morrison's office 9 days ago. Her phone showed 17 missed calls. 12 from Richard Pemberton, 3 from Marcus Westfield, 2 from board member Patricia Hughes. All demanding to know where she was, why she'd been unreachable, what her position would be on the staffing reduction vote. Katherine ignored them all and called Sarah. "Thank God," Sarah answered on the first ring. "Are you okay? Where are you?" "Atlanta. I'm catching the 7:15 flight back. I'll be at headquarters by 7:50. "That's cutting it incredibly close. The meeting starts at 8. "I know." Katherine pulled clothes from her bag, the executive uniform she hadn't worn in over a week. Navy suit, cream blouse, understated jewelry, the armor of corporate power. "Is the boardroom set up?" "Yes, but Katherine..." Sarah's voice dropped. "Pemberton's been in Westfield's office since 6. They're planning something. I overheard them talking about forcing a vote of confidence if you oppose the cuts." Katherine's hand stilled on her laptop bag. A vote of confidence. They were prepared to remove her as CEO if she didn't comply. "Let them try," she said quietly. "Is my presentation loaded?" "On the main screen, password protected, but you never sent me the final version." "Because I'm still writing it. I'll finish on the plane." Katherine checked her reflection one last time. The woman in the mirror looked calm, controlled, every inch the Fortune 500 CEO. Only the slight tension around her eyes betrayed the fury burning underneath. "Sarah, I need you to do something for me. Anything. Pull the complete personnel files for Richard Pemberton and Marcus Westfield. Every decision they've made in the last 3 years, every policy they've pushed, every meeting minute where they voted on staffing or operational changes, I want documentation." Sarah was silent for a moment. That could be grounds for termination if they find out. "I know what I'm asking." Another pause. "Then I'll have it ready before the meeting." Katherine felt a surge of gratitude. "Thank you. And Sarah, whatever happens today, you've been the best assistant I could have asked for." "Don't talk like that. You're going to win this." Katherine wasn't so sure, but she didn't say so. The flight back to New York was mercifully uneventful. Katherine sat in first class, her rightful seat, though it felt strange after a week in economy, and worked furiously on her laptop. Around her, business travelers tapped on phones and tablets, oblivious to the fact that the woman in 2A was about to blow up her own company. She opened the folder of evidence she'd compiled, photos of broken seats, recordings of passenger complaints, documentation of the staffing shortages James had described, the discrimination complaints HR had dismissed, the safety concerns pilots had raised about pressure to minimize fuel loads and rush pre-flight checks. The turnover statistics showing that Skyward was losing experienced employees at twice the industry average. And at the center of it all, the financial analysis that would be her nuclear option. Proof that Pemberton's cost-cutting measures were actually destroying long-term value. Customer lifetime value was plummeting. The airline was saving money on operations, but losing high-value frequent flyers to competitors. Revenue per available seat mile was down despite higher load factors. They were filling planes with discount travelers who would never return. Skyward was dying, and the people killing it thought they were saving it. Katherine's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Heard you're back. We're all watching. Don't let them win." James Rivera. Somehow he'd gotten her real number. Katherine smiled despite the knot of anxiety in her stomach. She wasn't just fighting for abstract principles anymore. She was fighting for James, for Maria and her daughter's tuition, for Denise and Marcus, and every other employee who'd trusted her with their stories. The plane landed at 7:42. Katherine was first off, striding through the terminal with her carry-on, every inch the executive who belonged in the fast lane. No one gave her a second glance. No one questioned her right to be there. The contrast to Karen Miller's experience couldn't have been starker. Sarah was waiting at the curb with the company car. She handed Katherine a tablet as they pulled into traffic. Everything you asked for. Pemberton's pushed through 7 rounds of cost reductions in 3 years. Each time he promised they'd be the last. Each time, customer satisfaction dropped and employee turnover increased. Westfield backed him every time. Katherine scrolled through the data, her jaw tightening. And the board approved all of it. Patricia Hughes voted against the last 2 cuts. Gerald Okonkwo abstained once, but yes, majority approval every time. 2 possible allies, maybe. Katherine would need them. They pulled up to Skyward's headquarters at 7:53. The gleaming glass tower seemed to mock her with its pristine corporate perfection. Inside that building, 16 floors up, her career was about to end or transform. Katherine took a deep breath and stepped out of the car. The executive floor was eerily quiet. Too quiet. Katherine's heels clicked on the marble as she walked past her office. No time to stop. Directly to the boardroom. Sarah fell into step beside her. "They're all already inside," Sarah whispered. "Pemberton, Westfield, all 9 board members. They started early." Katherine checked her watch. 7:56. She was technically still early, but they'd begun without her, which meant they were already setting the agenda, framing the narrative. She paused outside the boardroom doors, one hand on the handle. Through the frosted glass, she could see figures seated around the long table. Her board. Her company. For now. "Last chance to back down," Sarah said softly. "You could walk in there. Vote for the cuts. Keep your job." Katherine thought of James Rivera serving coffee to passengers who treated him like furniture. Of Maria worrying about her daughter's tuition. Of the young flight attendant crying in the galley after being screamed at by a first-class passenger. Of Denise dealing with angry customers while corporate policies tied her hands. Of Karen Miller, who didn't exist, but who'd shown Katherine Morrison who she needed to be. "No," Katherine said. "I really couldn't." She opened the door. The conversation stopped immediately. All eyes turned to her, some surprised, some annoyed, some carefully neutral. Marcus Westfield sat at the head of the table in what should have been Katherine's seat, his expression thunderous. Richard Pemberton was at his right hand, looking smug. "Katherine," Westfield said coldly, "how good of you to join us. We were just discussing your prolonged absence this week." Katherine walked to her seat. Westfield didn't move, forcing her to take a chair along the side, and set down her laptop with deliberate calm. "My apologies for the inconvenience. I was conducting essential research for today's presentation." "Research?" Pemberton's tone dripped with skepticism. "You've been unreachable for a week during a critical period. The CFO of an airline doesn't just disappear." "I'm the CEO, Richard, not you." Katherine met his gaze steadily. "And I'm here now. Shall we begin?" Westfield's jaw tightened. "We've already begun. Richard has presented his proposal for the workforce reduction. 8% across all departments. Implementation starting next month. The savings will add $12 million to quarterly EBITDA and position us for—" "I've read the proposal," Katherine interrupted, "and I'm voting no." The silence that followed was absolute. Pemberton recovered first, his face flushing. "You can't be serious. We've been over this. The numbers are clear." "The numbers are a fantasy," Katherine said. She opened her laptop and pulled up her presentation. "And I can prove it. If the board will give me 30 minutes, I'd like to present an alternative analysis." Westfield leaned back in his chair, arms crossed. "The vote is scheduled for 8:15. We don't have time for." "Then we'll reschedule the vote." Patricia Hughes spoke up from the far end of the table. She was 62, silver-haired, the former CEO of a hotel chain and the only other woman on the board. "If our CEO has concerns about a major restructuring, we should hear them. That's our fiduciary duty." "Our fiduciary duty is to shareholders," Westfield snapped, "who expect us to maintain profitability and—" "Our fiduciary duty is to the long-term health of this company," Hughes countered, "which requires listening to management." "Katherine, you have the floor." Katherine stood and walked to the presentation screen, feeling every eye on her. This was it. The moment that would define everything. "For the past 9 days," she began, "I've been conducting an undercover operation. I disguised myself as an ordinary passenger and flew on our planes, stayed in our airports, and experienced Skyward Airlines exactly as our customers and frontline employees experience it. The room erupted. You what? Westfield was on his feet. Are you out of your mind? The liability alone. The legal team approved it, Katherine said calmly, though that wasn't entirely true. David Morrison had assured her it was defensible, which wasn't quite the same thing. And what I discovered should concern every person in this room. She clicked to the first slide, a photo of the broken tray table from her first flight. This is the reality of our product. Broken equipment that hasn't been repaired because maintenance budgets have been cut to the bone. Next slide. The chaotic boarding scene at LaGuardia. This is what our customers experience. Understaffed gates, overwhelmed agents, a boarding process that's become a fight for overhead space because we've cut back on checked bag handling. Next slide. The statistics on employee turnover. This is what's happening to our workforce. We're losing experienced people who know how to handle difficult situations and replacing them with undertrained new hires or no one at all. Pemberton was shaking his head. This is anecdotal. A few bad experiences don't represent. It's not anecdotal when it's systematic. Katherine pulled up the customer satisfaction trends. Look at the data. Every time we cut costs, satisfaction drops. And it's not just dropping, it's collapsing. We're losing our most valuable customers to competitors. She clicked to the financial analysis she'd prepared on the plane. Here's what Richard's proposal doesn't tell you. The long-term cost. Yes, we'll save $12 million quarterly in labor costs, but we'll lose $30 million in customer lifetime value over the next 3 years. High-value business travelers are already leaving. The discount passengers we're attracting to fill seats don't come back and don't pay premium fares. That's speculative, Pemberton argued. You can't predict. It's not speculative. It's already happening. Katherine pulled up the next slide. Internal communications she'd obtained through Sarah, showing that the revenue management team had been flagging these exact concerns for months. Your own team has been warning you. You just haven't been listening. Gerald Okonkwo, a board member who'd been silent until now, leaned forward. Katherine, these are serious allegations. Are you saying Richard has been deliberately hiding information from the board? Katherine paused. This was the nuclear option. Once she said it, there was no going back. I'm saying that the cost-cutting strategy we've pursued for 3 years is destroying this company. And I'm saying that if we vote for another round of cuts today, we'll be past the point of no return. Westfield stood up, his face red. This is outrageous. You disappear for a week, come back with some photos and cherry-pick data, and expect us to throw out months of careful financial planning? Richard, show her the analyst projections. The analysts are wrong, Katherine said flatly. They're analyzing numbers that don't reflect reality, because reality is that our employees are being harassed and abused, our customers are being treated like cattle, and our safety margins are being cut dangerously thin. And sooner or later, something is going to break in a way we can't fix. She clicked to her final slide, the discrimination complaints that HR had dismissed. 23 formal complaints in the last quarter, all dismissed as unfounded. I met some of those employees during my undercover operation. Their complaints weren't unfounded. They were ignored because addressing them would have required spending money on training, enforcement, and culture change. This is absurd, Pemberton said. HR follows proper protocols. HR follows protocols designed to protect the company from lawsuits, not to actually address problems. Katherine closed her laptop and faced the board directly. I'm not asking you to take my word for it. I'm asking you to delay this vote for 2 weeks while we conduct a proper operational audit. Bring in external consultants. Interview frontline employees confidentially. Look at the real data, not the sanitized reports that make it to this room. 2 weeks? Westfield's voice was icy. The markets expect action. We've already announced that significant cost reductions are coming. Then we announced something different, Katherine said. We announced that Skyward Airlines is investing in operational excellence and customer service. We announced that we're taking the long view instead of sacrificing our future for quarterly earnings. Westfield and Pemberton exchanged a look. Katherine saw it and knew what was coming. I think, Westfield said slowly, that this board needs to have a serious discussion about leadership. Katherine, if you're not willing to support the financial strategy that this board has approved, I'm willing to support a strategy that actually works, Katherine interrupted. What I'm not willing to do is stand by while we destroy a company that's been in business for 40 years because we're too focused on next quarter's earnings to see that we're killing the patient to cure the disease. Patricia Hughes cleared her throat. Marcus, I think Katherine has raised legitimate concerns. At minimum, we should table the vote until... I'm calling for a vote of confidence in our CEO, Westfield said abruptly. If Katherine Morrison is unable to execute the board's directives, we need leadership that can. The room went silent. Katherine felt her heart pounding, but kept her face calm. This was it. The moment she'd known was coming. Fine, she said quietly. Let's vote. But before you do, I want everyone in this room to understand what you're actually voting on. You're not voting on quarterly earnings or cost reductions. You're voting on what kind of company Skyward Airlines is going to be. She pulled out her phone and opened the voice recording app. I have 9 days of recorded conversations with employees and passengers. I have documentation of safety concerns, discrimination complaints, and operational failures. And I have a meeting scheduled with the New York Times investigative team for tomorrow morning. Pemberton went pale. You wouldn't dare. Try me, Katherine said. You want to remove me as CEO? Go ahead. But understand that the moment you do, every piece of evidence I've gathered becomes public. Every complaint your HR department buried. Every safety concern your operations team flagged and you ignored. Every employee who's been harassed, discriminated against, or forced to work in unsafe conditions while you congratulated yourselves on improving margins. Westfield's expression was murderous. That's blackmail. No, Katherine said. That's accountability. Something this board has been avoiding for 3 years. Gerald Okonkwo spoke up again. Katherine, what exactly are you proposing? Katherine took a deep breath. I'm proposing that we kill Pemberton's cost-cutting plan. I'm proposing a 6-month operational transformation focused on employee welfare, customer service, and safety. I'm proposing that we invest in our people instead of treating them as expenses to be minimized. And I'm proposing that if this board isn't willing to do that, then you should remove me as CEO, because I won't be part of destroying this company. The silence stretched out. Katherine could see the board members looking at each other, calculating, weighing their options. Finally, Patricia Hughes spoke. I move that we table the workforce reduction vote and authorize Katherine to present a detailed alternative plan within 2 weeks. I second, Gerald Okonkwo said immediately. Westfield's face was stone. All in favor? 4 hands went up. Then a 5th, 6, not enough. They needed a majority of the 9-member board. Katherine watched the remaining 2 board members, both longtime allies of Westfield, and waited. One of them, an investment banker named Thomas Reeves, slowly raised his hand. 8. The motion carried. Westfield stood up abruptly, his chair scraping against the floor. This is a mistake. When this company's stock price collapses because you chose feelings over financial discipline, remember that I warned you. He walked out, Pemberton following close behind. Katherine remained standing at the head of the table, her legs suddenly weak. She'd won. Maybe. Or maybe she'd just bought herself 2 weeks before they fired her anyway. Patricia Hughes approached her as the other board members filed out. That was quite a performance. I hope you know what you're doing. So do I, Katherine admitted. You have 2 weeks to prove that investing in people is more profitable than cutting costs. If you can't show results, Westfield will have the votes to remove you. Hughes paused at the door. For what it's worth, I think you did the right thing, but doing the right thing doesn't always save your career. Then Katherine was alone in the boardroom, Sarah appearing in the doorway moments later. Holy shit, Sarah breathed. You actually did it. Katherine sank into a chair, suddenly exhausted. I bought us 2 weeks. That's all. That's everything, Sarah corrected. What do you need? Katherine pulled out her phone and looked at James Rivera's text. We're all watching. Get me a meeting with the union representatives, she said. All of them. Flight attendants, pilots, ground crew, maintenance. I want them here tomorrow morning. Tomorrow, Katherine, you need to. Tomorrow, Katherine repeated. If I'm going to transform this company in 2 weeks, I need to start with the people who actually know how to fix it. Sarah nodded and pulled out her tablet. I'll set it up. Anything else? Katherine looked at the empty boardroom, thinking of all the decisions that had been made in this space over the years. All the times cost had won out over care, efficiency over empathy, quarterly results over long-term thinking. Yes, she said. Cancel my meeting with the New York Times. Sarah's head snapped up. What? But that was your leverage. I know, but if I'm going to fix this company, I need to do it without threatening to burn it down. Katherine stood up, feeling the weight of the decision settle on her shoulders. We're going to prove we can change, and if we can't, then maybe the Times should tell that story. Her phone buzzed. Another text from James. Did you win? Katherine smiled and typed back. Round 1. Come to headquarters tomorrow morning. I have a job offer for you. There was a long pause. Then, what kind of job? Katherine thought about it for a moment before responding. The kind where you help me fix everything that's broken. Interested? The reply came almost immediately. Hell yes. Katherine pocketed her phone and looked at Sarah. Get me every operational report from the last 3 years. Customer complaints, employee surveys, safety audits, maintenance logs, everything. I want to know exactly how broken we are before I try to fix it. That's going to be thousands of pages. Then I'd better get started. Katherine headed for the door, then paused. Sarah, thank you for everything. Sarah smiled. Don't thank me yet. You've got 2 weeks to save an airline. The hard part's just beginning. Katherine walked back to her office, past the executive portraits on the walls, past the gleaming corporate awards, past all the trappings of success that suddenly seemed hollow. She'd spent her entire career climbing to the top of this tower. Now she was going to tear it down from the inside and rebuild it into something worth leading. Her phone buzzed again. This time it was a news alert. Skyward Airlines stock down 3% in early trading on rumors of internal conflict. Katherine smiled grimly. Westfield was already making his move, leaking to the press to put pressure on her. The board would be watching the stock price like hawks. If it kept falling, they'd blame her. If it recovered, she'd have breathing room. 2 weeks to transform a company. 2 weeks to prove that doing the right thing could also be profitable. 2 weeks before Westfield and Pemberton made their next move. Katherine sat down at her desk and opened her laptop. She had work to do. Outside her window, the Manhattan skyline glittered in the morning sun. Somewhere out there, James Rivera was probably getting ready for another shift. Dealing with another day of understaffed flights and angry passengers and corporate policies that made his job impossible. Not for much longer, Katherine promised herself. Not if she had anything to say about it. Her desk phone rang. She picked it up. Katherine Morrison. Ms. Morrison, this is Detective Sarah Huang with the NYPD. I'm calling about a complaint we received regarding an incident on one of your flights last week. A first-class passenger allegedly assaulted a flight attendant. We'd like to speak with you about your company's policies regarding passenger misconduct. Katherine closed her eyes. Of course. The incident James had told her about, the one where corporate had sided with the passenger over the employee. The one that had made her realize how deeply broken the system was. Detective Huang, Katherine said carefully, I'd be happy to cooperate with your investigation. In fact, I may have some information that could be helpful. Oh, what kind of information? Katherine thought about the recording on her phone, the conversation with James where he described what had happened in detail. Evidence that could corroborate the flight attendant's complaint. Evidence that could also expose how Skyward had tried to cover it up. The kind that might take a while to explain, Katherine said. When would you like to meet? As she scheduled the appointment, Katherine realized that the reckoning she'd started in the boardroom was just beginning. There would be more revelations, more consequences, more moments where she'd have to choose between protecting the company and doing what was right. But for the first time in years, she knew which choice she'd make. 2 weeks to save an airline. 2 weeks to prove that Katherine Morrison was more than just another corporate executive protecting the bottom line. 2 weeks to become the leader she should have been all along. The phone rang again and again and again. Katherine took a deep breath and started answering.
Thanks for watching our stories. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more epic adventures. Thanks for watching our stories. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more epic adventures.